right, The Walking Dead, episode 5 now, Go-Getters. And we see some real go-getters in this episode and a lot of characters you may have forgotten about. This is Francis Maxwell, I'm Kim Horcher. So in this episode, we are more back on the Hilltop, more or less. I mean, there's a scene with Rick and Michonne. So we are going back to Maggie. Where has she been? Has she been hiding? Turns out I don't really understand the time, how much time has passed, but I think she's been resting there at least for a little bit. And we find there have been a few complications with her placenta separating, but the baby is still okay. She's been mourning Glenn. Sasha has been mourning Abraham. I have been wondering about them. When we went into, well, you saw this episode before I did, and you told me I did not like this episode. No. But then I watched it, and I kind of dug it.
Well, that's good. At least we have the comparison of views, which will appeal to the audience who thinks that we often just hate the episodes that they love, and then we love the episodes that they hate, which I'm not going to win. But I'm going to try to be rational. When I watched it last night, I sent out a couple of tweets. I thought I actually had it placed firmly in my top 5 worst Walking Dead episodes of all time.
I don't think it's there.
The more I think about it, the more I understand what it was. Right? So here's the problem I have with it in general. I was really interested in Maggie's storyline because we just lost a character that we all struggled to deal with. So how would it feel if it was the wife of that person that she's bearing his baby? So if the episode was solely focused around Maggie's struggle to deal with this, I think it would have been fine. But they had her struggle, but they never actually even showed us it. Like, she had this epiphany at the end. I'm not going to spoil it. Just this sudden resurgence of hope. Well, I don't want to jump ahead when we've still got parts to get to, but it was almost like we went through all of these different sequences that in a way were supposed to play into her ability to understand that things might get better, but they didn't have anything to do with what makes her kind of feel some sort of hope that that Glenn's death doesn't mean the end for her. To me, if you focused the episode just around her and her journey and her struggles and her despair, but then something that really allowed her to latch on to hope, then that would have been fine. But it was almost like at the end of the episode, oh wait, yeah, we've got Maggie here. Yeah, Maggie, can you just say that you're okay with this after it went on? Yeah, we'll film that scene and then we'll go ahead and do it.
The way I read it was that, well, what I love is stories of the weak becoming strong. And I saw this in many threads in this episode. But I really liked that she and Sasha, you know, the scene where they're saying grace and holding on to each other. I think that was demonstrating, you know, we have each other, and there is that line, not everything's bad. She still has the baby. So I think that baby, you know, the scene in the beginning where the doctor's like, you're in trouble, but you still got the baby, so you have to be careful. I think that was, you know, maybe it wasn't illustrated well enough, but it was the baby is her hope, and her friend Sasha protecting her is her hope, and Jesus is her hope. Yeah, I forgot all about a bunch of characters in this episode. Jesus, I forgot about. Yeah. He is probably the nicest guy after the apocalypse.
No doubt.
We have Simon Ogg back as...
Negan's right-hand
man. No, his
man.
name is Simon. His name is Simon. The actor's name is...
Is it Stephen?
Stephen Ogg?
His name's Simon in the show.
He's Trevor in Grand Theft Auto 5.
Oh, yeah.
And he's a character in Westworld, too.
Oh, yeah, he is.
He's a villainous character. It seems like he always gets a slightly unhinged villainous character.
Not bad. And he played it very well. I liked it. Do you know, the theme that kept me involved in the show is, I talked to you about this briefly when we went to walk out, is like, I feel like all these leaders of all these different communities all share similar traits to each other that kind of tie to Rick in the way that he's been in the past. So Negan's too strong, Gregory's too weak, he's a new coward we're looking at. In the kingdom, we have this facade that's created to deal with the world. And then we have Rick that has little bits of each of these characteristics, right? We've seen him really go to the depths of doing what needs to be done to be necessary, biting off a guy's face, like killing people no matter what. Negan's taking no shit whatsoever, taking what he wants, literally, and doing it. Gregory's trying to grasp what he needs to do to try and keep us a community together. He's not doing it very well. He was, in a way, looking out for himself, but not in the way that we would, as fans, would want him to see, because he's discarding 2 of our favorites. But it just seems like all these different leaders, in a way, are trying to figure out how they can manage their own community. And the only one that seems to be succeeding is Negan at the moment, who's just doing what he wants. So I do like those comparisons, because every time I see a new leader come on, I'm like, well, as much as it's our instinct to like rip this guy apart because he's so cowardly and he's not doing anything right, which we did do.
You're supposed to.
But what is Rick doing that's much better? You know what I mean? It's almost like Rick's conceding to that part of it.
Rick's kind of in a limbo right now, where he doesn't know what to do. I think he has thoughts that, oh, I can be my old self, but he has thoughts of, I can't be my old self at all, not with this guy here, not with these numbers. It's interesting that you read it as like a case study in leadership and different ways that could work. Because I had a different read, but I like that those different views coming together. Speaking of Rick, I mean, after that opening scene with Gregory, where he's just a complete pain in the ass, doesn't care about Glenn dying, and this woman is pregnant, and they helped them. He's just being just a little pissant.
Yes.
My immediate thought was, oh, we got to kill Gregory now.
Yeah, I thought he was going to die.
My thought is always like old Rick.
Yeah,
which
of course.
is kill the problem.
Yeah, of course.
Or maybe Carol.
And I thought Sasha might have done it. She looked pretty agitated. And then I actually thought that Simon was going to do it, because it seemed like at that last moment where Simon goes, oh, and one last thing, Gregory, can you give me a kneel? I thought that was it. I thought he was just going to take him out, and then we're going to have Jesus lead that community. But Gregory's there for a reason. He's there because I imagine we're going to see some sort of character arc of his journey. I would not be surprised if he was discarded, but he, in a way, he didn't. Was his plan to sell them out? That was the thing, because I thought that
absolutely was going to sell them out. The only way he was thwarted was because Jesus hid them somewhere else.
Yes, so I'm thinking to myself, like, what's the journey? Are they going to use him as a pawn? Are they going to use him in a way to get themselves out of the situation?
I see no character development for this guy. I think he's written to be a completely unlikable jerk, because he can't remember anyone's name. He can't remember that even Sasha doesn't live there as a Hilltop resident. He doesn't know anything. He's completely inept, and it's completely displayed in, I think, a span of 60 seconds. How inept he is at leading. He has to be replaced. He was made to be replaced.
Yeah. So now when I'm talking about it now, this is interesting. Like, it's not as bad as what I was thinking at the moment. The reason why my problem with the episode was the conviction. Like, I'm not trying to here be some sort of tutti-frutti acting expert, but I feel like there was no execution really. Like the scene when they had the walkers come in, I felt like single thing was pre-planned, and it was almost gimmicky the way that like Jesus would come up behind and help Sasha, and she'd be like, oh, sorry, and then they'd run on. Like that, those are fine if we're two or three seasons into the show. We're 7 seasons in. Sasha's an expert. Like they're expected to just handle these situations without this added sense of drama that just me and Tim like used to tell us apart last year when like Daryl all of a sudden would forget how to draw his knife out when he's stumbling. Like, come on.
So you're saying it's too convenient?
Yes, exactly.
Because I thought what you meant by that, because that was meant to be
I understand
a convenient scene that they set up on purpose to
test them or
show them their place.
Yeah, I got that. I just felt like if the acting at times was in it was just like a little gimmicky. I almost felt like they came to the end of the shooting this season and went, oh shit, we need to fill in another episode. Let's see what we can do. Like, let's put in this episode and we'll just shoot it as quick as we can. Like, I didn't buy into any of the sort of scenes that they were selling as the scene between Enid and Carl. Like, I understand there's this little romance going on, and I like the way they tried to tap into the Stranger Things like score that was underlined every time they had the scene. There was a little music that was playing in the background, the way Mike in 11 used to have.
I didn't read that as Stranger Things.
Well, in Stranger Things,
I read it as like young puppy love.
Well, I think that when they had when Mike in 11 in Stranger Things used to like have a talk, they would play this kind of soft the music underscore, and it made me feel like, oh, this is the next scene. I'm enticed. I want to see it. Whenever it was those two, I was like, this is forced. It gave me
a lot of conflicted feelings because on one hand, I do like it when things that are nice happen, because nothing nice ever happens on the show. It's always grueling and heart-wrenching. So I liked, I don't know, maybe it was a nice diversion.
Maybe you're softening up.
But on the other end, when they put the roller skates on, I thought, oh no, kids, you're vulnerable. Take off those roller skates. Unless you are derby masters, you're going to get killed.
Yeah. So I guess I just wasn't buying into the way it was sold. But in the end, it's still an interesting way of how things are now going to pan out with Carl and Jesus going on this stealth mission to try and figure out where Negan lives, whatever their plan lays. Like, what is it? Sasha's got her motive to take out whatever sort of aggression she has and anger, and wants to get some form of revenge. It's the same way that we see with Rosita in the other community, like she wants Eugene to make a bullet because she wants to get her own version of revenge, whatever that may be. Maybe she wants to take out Negan and Carl as well. So that's an interesting plot, how each member of each community, or each member of our core community in their own retrospective ways, want to get back at the Saviors, because Rick has trained them
It's
that way.
also another, again, to repeat your earlier statement,
Yeah.
it's another exercise in what leadership is. I
Yeah.
mean, now we have the leader that's been the center of the series this whole time, Rick. He's basically not,
Retreated,
he can't operate anymore. He can't do it. He's not himself right now. And what we're seeing is the people who are essentially his family, his crew, his team, his best friends. Maybe that's pieces of him that are in them, or maybe they have their own strengths and they're just rising to the occasion. You know, when there's a vacuum, I suppose in situations with my friends or my family, I feel like I have to be this person because we have to get the job done.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what's going on here. And I really like seeing characters rise and change and become empowered.
Yeah, and I actually really like how vulnerable Rick has been now, because when you think about it, for 6 seasons prior to this one, Rick has made decisions that have to be made ever since the killing of Shane, the difference that he's had to change in his own view towards what is right and what's wrong. Like, this guy has went through so many different moments in his life to get to where he is, and Negan, we had to have a villain break Rick in order to keep this interesting, because if Rick kept coming out on top, we have a group of vicious bikers holding his family hostage and he bites one of their face off, and then all of a sudden he's back to being the hero again. We have to have someone else emerge from the dust to try and at least bring Rick back, so that we can get that same sense of enjoyment in the show, because I don't think anyone feels, Daryl might, we've not seen it yet, but anyone feels the guilt that Rick feels for those deaths, because he made that decision. He promised Gregory that he could take care of it. His own relentlessness in trying...
Maggie made the promise, didn't she?
Well, Maggie, they I think collectively they said they were going to take care of the Saviors.
Okay.
And I think Gregory was like, okay, that's how you kind of got their trust. They were going to take care of them. It doesn't take much to get that guy's trust. I think you just empty promises. If you say you're going to do something, as long as he's getting something out of it, he's fine with it.
He's completely selfish and sniveling.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's just me thinking ahead, but it seems like he's written to be deposed.
I think he might be written to double-cross the group.
I
think he might wander over and try to get some sort of position in Negan's
try with the closet.
And with the whiskey, at least, even though he didn't want to give it up because that was his prized possession.
I'm sorry. Did you lose something?
But I feel like his story arc might be he's going to cross over and try to be. Negan will probably be like, nah, I don't. Negan in his own sort of way that he likes loyalty will be like, I don't like someone that's going to cross over a group that they look at.
He doesn't like
maybe he takes them out.
weaklings.
Yeah, and I
So
think
there
he'd
you
take them
go.
out.
He's a coward. He's stupid, as they said during
Yeah.
the show. So that'll be a satisfying death to come.
Yeah, it's almost.
one of these days.
I think I've got a few satisfying deaths that I'm just looking forward to. Like, I love the character of Negan, but he's so evil that I want to know who's going to be the one. I haven't read it on in the comics. I don't know how things pan out.
I stopped reading a long time ago
but I'm
because
just
I actually enjoy it more this way.
I think I would actually like to see Daryl take him out.
I don't think he can.
No.
We'll see, though.
We'll see if it pans out that way.
We'll see how it goes. All right, we'll see you next week for Who's Gonna Die Next on The Walking Dead.